Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you for joining us on another series of Hispanic Stars in Tech, our 2022 series. My name is Jesse Martinez. I'm the founder of Latinx Startup Alliance and also your host today. This is our weekly series where we bring to you some of the people, resources, and other things that can help you in your journey as an entrepreneur working in tech, as well as looking to embark on a tech career or journey. With this series, we want to certainly thank our dear friends at We're All Human and the Hispanic Star, Claudia and her amazing team, for allowing us to bring this series to you. We started this journey back in 2020 because of pandemic. And so now that, we're coming out of this pandemic, almost, hopefully, it's important for you to build these relationships and really get to meet some of these people in person. So when you think about today or tomorrow or in the future, what are some of those resources that can help you on your tech journey? Today, this afternoon, I'm really excited to host Monica, which, we met back in San Francisco a long time ago, and to think about, her journey, her story, and what she's doing today. I'm really looking forward to this discussion. And so I want to welcome Monica from Crypto Conexión. Monica, how you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for hosting these amazing spaces where we all can learn and connect. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And how are things in Austin?
They're good. It's not as hot, fortunately, but not as hot as the summer, but it's good. It's good. It's a great dynamic city, and I'm excited to be here and grow in this ecosystem.
Yeah, well, lots of activity there. So excited to see that. And as you know, we're at the Ion now. And so that's what you see in my background picture. That's the third floor. And looking forward to having you be a part of that here in October. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But, one of the things we always like to talk about is, your journey and your story up to today. And so if you want to take us as far back as you like on who Monica is and where you started and walk us through that. That'd be awesome.
Sure. I'll start, and I'll say this because I think it's an important part of my story. I was born in Mexico, but I moved to the States when I was 10, and I grew up on the border. I grew up in Laredo, and then I went to the University of Texas. I'm one of those rare people that studied public relations and then worked in public relations for many years. I won't say how many, but most of my career has been in communications and public relations. I worked at Flashman Hillard. I worked at Univision. I worked at an energy company for a brief amount of time. I worked at AT&T, ADT, and then I did work in the interim in between Univision and ADT, AT&T. I worked at a startup, and I was in ed tech, and it's the one that really opened my curiosity into technology and startups and this fascinating world. And most recently, about a year ago, actually on October 31st, it will be a year since we launched the website. We launched Crypto Conexión, which is a website focused on helping Spanish speakers understand and participate in this whole blockchain, crypto, Web3 metaverse world. And it's been a fascinating journey. I know, I think the terms grow every time we talk, Jesse.
Well, yes, lots to talk about there, but just going back and unpacking some of your journey there. What got you interested in public relations? How did that come about? And then two, we always talk about the importance around education, especially for our Latino community. Why that higher ed, right? Kind of what was that catalyst, and then also why UT?
So, for me, public relations came because I knew I wanted to be in communications. And when I actually went 2 years to community college and then 2 years at the University of Texas, I went to the Laredo Community College and then Austin Community College and then UT. And when I joined UT, I joined the communication school. And at that point, it's all changed. Now, journalism had 4 tracks, and this is how old I am. The 4 tracks were print, they were magazine, newspaper, broadcast, and PR. And so I was like, I think I want to go into PR. And the great thing at that point, again, now it's under marketing and we could debate that forever. At that point, it was great for me because I got all the basics and really learned how journalists thought and worked. And that's who I needed to work with, right? That's how I needed to write. That's how I needed to think. And look, I come from a family where college wasn't an aspiration; it was an expectation. So I have 5 sisters, and my father and my mother always emphasized the importance of education. I have another friend who actually, I think she has a master's, maybe a PhD, but she talks about how our family, for them, right, their inheritance to us was our education, right? We didn't have much more to inherit, but we had, I think, the most important thing, which was the ability to go to college and to go to school. And so we were very fortunate to have that opportunity.
That's great. And, I think there was an important point that you made there with respect to just PR and the training that you got and building that foundation, that strong foundation, which therefore has carried you along this journey, right? And being able to see and understand. And I think sometimes we miss those in this new age, I would say.
Yes, where people want to move very fast, right? Also, look, I was also very lucky that my mother didn't allow us to speak English at home. So we kept our Spanish. And so the fact that I was bilingual also opened a lot of doors. When I went from, my first job was actually at the Texas Department of Commerce, promoting Texas as a tourist destination.
Wow.
And, and when I was hired to Flushman, and so I had to use my Spanish there because one of our main tourism, places that tourism comes from is Mexico. And so I would do a lot with the border states and with Mexico and with Mexican press. And then when I went to Flushman Hillard, one of the reasons they hired me was because of my Spanish and because they needed for one of their clients to do outreach in Spanish and to the Hispanic community. So I've always been very fortunate that my background also opened those doors. And I'm and I've always celebrated that part of it, that the fact that I've been able to move. Actually, when I started my job at the Texas Department of Commerce, I realized that my Spanish was not business Spanish. And in fact, a friend of mine said I spoke abuelita Spanish because I spoke my mother's Spanish, not like the new jargon. So I actually took the time to take Spanish business course so that I could really understand and speak with the business jargon.
Right. Yeah, we were, Spanish was our first language too. We were encouraged as we were growing up to speak it, and then not my dominant language now, but I still try to practice when I can, and it helped open some doors as well in my journey. And so I'm glad that it's celebrated and promoted today. I would say that when we were growing up, it wasn't always the case.
Yeah.
And so, have a lot of friends that, a lot of friends that,
I saw that.
Yeah, which is really sad because a lot of friends just didn't learn because parents didn't want it. Yeah.
So that you wouldn't have an accent or anything like that, right? It was a very different time when we were growing up. Fortunately, now it's encouraged. I remember a friend telling me that it was the Ricky Martin phenomenon, right? After Ricky Martin became popular, everybody wanted to learn Spanish. So, so that was great. But going to your point, so I do want to talk about how I became really passionate about empowering our community. And it was really thanks to Univision. I worked with an amazing team at Univision that did a lot of CSR work, Ibeliz Estrada, Diana Diaz, many others in the local stations. And I will tell you, the moment that I realized the impact and the importance of the work that we need to do for our community, we were doing a town hall with President Obama, and it was focused on education. And a mother came up to me and said, thanks to Univision, my son went to college. And what she said was that not only did they get information on how to access scholarships and the importance of education, we had a really good program that was developed by the CSR team, but it was also that her son was encouraged and saw the opportunities that education would bring through the different programs we're doing. And so just, seeing that impact and talking to families, we did a lot around healthcare, education, and the need for information, coupled with the important value that we were bringing, really opened my eyes of the responsibility that we all have to ensure that we can all come together and help our community.
Yeah, it sounds like I've seen it firsthand too, growing up around it with my parents and the impact that it's had and the things that they championed. And so I think that was an amazing experience for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the vision of the team, right? Because I think Univision could have said, well, they can watch the telenovelas, our community can watch our content. Yeah. But they really made an effort to create programs that had an impact. And, the team there now also works really hard to develop very impactful programs, including focused on entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we need some help and advice from you on, how do we champion more Latinos, not only in education, but around tech as well. And what does that mean? And what are the benefits? And, what is that short term, long term?
Absolutely.
There's still a lot of challenges there.
Yes. Especially explaining to her parents what you're doing, right? Telling my mom I was going into this crypto world she's still like, I don't understand what she didn't understand what PR was, and now she really doesn't understand what I'm doing. And she does get nervous every time she, hears all these stories, because crypto has a PR problem. So
yes. Well, tell her that's all the bad stories.
yes. I need somebody to do a telenovela about the benefits of decentralized economy.
There we go. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yes.
Yeah, we've had a number of guests, founders, and it's like, okay, what was that conversation like with your parents that you're doing a startup? Like, yeah. And then venture capital.
Are you sure?
Yeah, venture as well. And so, it's an educational process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we still have a long ways to go. I still hear stories of our community not understanding the benefit of stock options and what does that mean, right? And have comp plus stock options.
I think just overall, right? And it's funny, I had a conversation with a friend of mine who's like, oh, and she's younger than me, and she's like, oh, I'm too old to start thinking about and like to start to study or learn about investing, but I want to learn it for my kids. And so I was talking to somebody who's in the space. I'm like, develop programs for moms, because that's how you're going to get them engaged. But it's like, you're never too old. Look at me.
Yeah, never too old. And so it's a number of things that we need to work on, right?
Absolutely.
We talk about that wealth and prosperity in our community.
Wealth building. It's about wealth building, and let's get that message out and show how you can do it, right?
Yeah, I had a founder on the other day that he's working on 401ks.
That's awesome. I love it.
For the Latino business owners. So, and starting with California. And so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And bring in and deliver from that perspective versus just here it is. And you're like, well, what is this? What does it mean?
Yeah. I mean, you sent me a question today about like, why is it important for there to be Latino founders or for us to get funding? Part of it is because we understand our community, we understand the challenges, we understand how to engage, communicate, and develop products and services that serve our community and can be broader, right? They're not only going to serve us, they're going to have a broader impact, but they can really have an impact with our community.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And so on this journey, right, we always talk about the importance of mentors and advisors. Maybe you have a couple or a few stories to share, and what it meant for you.
I've been very, very fortunate. I think a friend of mine says that my superpower is my network, that I'm surrounded by really amazing people that have helped me along the way. You're one of them. I have to give you lots of kudos because you believed in me when I started this. I think you were one of the first to say, that's awesome. And I was like, oh, thank you. And to really help guide me, because I think it's hard, especially, I'm a 50-year-old Latina who has never done technology or finance. And so coming in from a very different background in communications, I think was intimidating to say the least, but the support from mentors and advisors like you has been key. At Univision, Randy Falco, who was the CEO, also really believed in me and pushed me I've always loved technology and innovation. And when I was at Univision, I helped actually launch our efforts into social media. I created our first Facebook and Twitter pages.
Wow.
And
Okay.
and it was a battle because it was like, no, we need to ensure, we need to connect through our own platforms. And I was like, no, we need to be there. And so it's a longer story, but he always believed in me and encouraged me to really innovate and push forward. And so he's been great. Jessica Rodriguez, who was one of the leaders to at Univision, was just incredible in helping just really believe in me and push me and encourage me. Somebody else is Melissa Arnoldi at AT&T. I worked with her, and she also, I mean, really was supportive every step of the way, including when I told her I wanted to leave to do this. She really encouraged me to do it. I thought I was so nervous about having the conversation with her because she had been so supportive of my role at AT&T. There's so many others, Kelly Kimberly, who I worked with, Ailey Yokala. So I've had a lot of women who've supported me and also men and that have helped me grow and develop.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, I think sometimes, we talk about, the types of mentors and advisors that we have in our journeys. Some of us had more non-Latinos and Latinos, and so
Yeah.
that's been interesting as well. But people.
I hadn't thought about it, but I have a very strong network of Latinos as well. I think I'm thinking of people that I worked with in corporate America, and mostly, you're right, not a lot of them were Latinos. So.
Right. Yeah. But we're changing that.
Yes, we are. And by the way, one of the first people that I worked with, and he was amazing, and he is amazing. His name is Chino Chapa, and we're still stay in touch. In fact, one of the things that I always advise younger people is stay in touch with whoever was your mentor, even when you start your career, or your supervisor. Chino gave me my first opportunity in an agency at Fleishman Hillard, and again was very supportive, and we would laugh a lot because we targeted and went after a lot of business focused on Hispanic, and he really helped me learn about the potential and the value that I would bring in that space, right? So
Right.
That's another area, but there's so many people. I feel like I hope I'm not forgetting somebody, but I do think the most important thing is to be smart about how you approach your mentors, right? What you're asking for. I get a lot of, hey, can we have coffee? And it's like, okay, tell me what you want to talk about. Like, be a little bit more specific on your ask, not just coffee. Like, how can I help you? Because that's what I think we all want to do. And then don't be afraid to reach out when you really need help. And I think, Jesse, you've been great with me on that front and others where I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And that's when your mentors and advisors really can really play a key role.
Right. Yeah. And then the sponsorship, right, is the other piece.
Yes.
Right? Thinking about your career at Univision and having those sponsors
Absolutely
champion you. And so that's something that we don't always talk about.
Yeah. No, and that people, it's different, right? Because your sponsor is really going to push you even when you don't know it. They're sponsoring you. And it's building that relationship of trust and where they see you when sometimes they see what you don't see. And I think that's what happened with me and with, again, Randy Falco, who really gave me an opportunity of a lifetime heading up comms at Univision.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so we go through this whole journey of, PR and comms, and then AT&T, and then what was that aha moment for crypto and empowering our Latino community right around Web3? Well, walk us through that. I think that's so cool.
Yeah, so I think there's two different, maybe three things there, right? The first one was at AT&T, what I was doing was focused on Latin America, and I've done a lot of work in Latin America, but I hadn't been so in depth in Latin America for a while. And so the asset that I worked and supported on the comm side was called Rio, is called Rio. It still exists, but it was sold by AT&T. And it included 10 countries, 3 languages, because Brazil was a big part of the initiative. And so I did a lot of work there. And it, again, reignited my excitement for the amazing things that are happening in Latin America. And the pandemic hit, right? So I'd been on the road all the time traveling to these countries, and the pandemic hit, and we had to go home. And a lot of people don't know that probably one of the groups that worked the hardest during the pandemic uh, within corporate America were the communications teams, because we had to really shift to focus on internal communications and ensuring we had engagement, on ensuring that we were managing our customers if we couldn't serve them at stores. We moved quickly to move people back to work from home. And in Latin America, it was interesting because the pandemic hadn't hit like the US. So they were like, why are we going home now when it hasn't hit? But AT&T decided that everybody globally would go home at the same time. So the first few months were nonstop work. And then I started to get a little bit of time, like everybody else, I watched too much content on streaming platforms. My bad joke is when I finished watching that, I was like, what do I do next? Because there was so much time we spent on that. And so I started to look at investing. So just to your point, I never proactively invested outside of my 401k. And a friend of mine was like, you should start looking at doing a little bit of buying your own stock and playing in that space. And she recommended Bitcoin. At that point, I didn't know that there was more than one cryptocurrency. I thought it was only Bitcoin. I knew very little. And so being the geek that I am, I was like, okay, I bought a little bit, and I saw that it started to grow in value by a lot. I bought like $200 of Bitcoin. And I was like, okay, I need to really understand this. And so I took the MIT course, which cost more than my investment in Bitcoin, but it was worth it. And then I got hooked, right? I think what happens to a lot of people is when you start learning about the space, you just go down the rabbit hole. So after the first course on crypto, I signed up for a second course at MIT, which was a blockchain course. And I took some courses with the Blockchain Council. And because I was doing work in Latin America, I was like, how much content that's educational is out there? And I found that there was not that much content that was easy to digest, right? There was in English, but not in Spanish. In Spanish, you had either content that was very technical, that was more news breaking, and then you had to understand a lot of the other information, or that it was a lot of scams telling you would become a millionaire. And so I decided to create the platform. Now I will tell you, since then, a lot of new content and platforms educating in Spanish have come up. But I'm very proud of what we've done, because we've been able to create content. We don't do news breaking stories, or we're not a news site, but we have content to educate. So we have tutorials. We do have a course that we offer that starts with the history of money. So it really starts from the beginning. And then we have content, which is my favorite, because it's like this, where we highlight amazing entrepreneurs and individuals and projects happening in Latin America or with Latinos in the US. And that has given us an opportunity to really grow a community where we can celebrate a lot of the people that are having an impact in this space.
That's really cool. And once you go down that rabbit hole,
Yes.
there's no turning back. And so same thing with just investment DAOs. I went down that rabbit hole and have all these ideas. And so
And I think for entrepreneurs, and I was fortunate that I worked with Morgan Stanley's their innovation lab for diverse communities, and I would always tell them, don't get distracted, right? Because once you start down the path, another idea pops up and you start to chase all these shining stars. And it's like, no, you need to stay focused. It's hard. I want to chase everything.
It is. We were just talking about this yesterday, going back to wealth and prosperity, and you talking about, 401k, and then making that crossover to Bitcoin. And so still, we still need a lot of, again, education in our Latino community about these other investment vehicles, investment opportunities. And
there's people doing great work in that space, right? Ramona and others I know are doing a lot of great work. Suma Wealth is doing really good work in that space to bring and onboard our communities more. And it's interesting, Jesse, because what I found also in Latin America, so I like to say that crypto is being used in Latin America as it should be used. So it is used as currency. It could be used for saving, but it's also being used to pay. And in fact, I think someone told me recently that they were losing somebody that works for them in Argentina because they wanted to be paid in crypto and they couldn't do that. And so they took another job where they could be paid in crypto. So you're seeing people really taking and embracing crypto as currency. While in the US, I think it's seen more as an investment vehicle.
Right. Yeah, maybe talk a little bit about the just a number of conferences that are taking place in LATAM.
Oh, there's so many. I'm a little exhausted just thinking about it.
That's exciting.
It is very exciting. In fact, if you want to go to our website in Crypto Conexión, we do have an events calendar, but we have we're going to Blockchain Land, which is going to be in Monterrey, October 5th to the 7th. If anybody, by the way, I'm going to send you an access code if you want to watch it virtually. We have some tickets for that to watch it virtually. Then there's going to be 2 weeks in Bogota that are going to be really exciting because you have DEF CON and happening at LATAM happening in Bogota. And so that's going to be 2 weeks where a lot of people are coming together in Bogota, but you're going to have a lot of hackathons, developers. I know a lot of the women focused DAOs and organizations are doing some really exciting things there. So a shout out to her DAO LATAM. We work a lot with them, and to Blue DAO. They're doing amazing work, and they're actually, what they do is they do giveaways where they sponsor about 20 women to come from all over the world, and they bring them to the different conferences so that they can participate in hackathons. And so it's really fun to watch. And, you know, you don't have to be a hackathon. I actually want to participate in one. You don't have to be a developer because you can be the marketing person. You can be the project manager. There's different roles you can have, and it's a great way to learn.
Yeah, you give me flashbacks of the old hackathon days where you would actually camp out.
I know.
The whole weekend and eat and sleep there, and yeah, it was pretty intense. It was fun, and I recall that the number one role that people needed during that hackathon was a designer. So when you think about UX UI, that person was in high demand, and usually there weren't that many. And so that person was just bouncing around, helping the different teams. Yeah.
You know, there was just F Mexico just happened, and they did right before that, Lens did a hackathon for designers. And I thought it was so smart, really do one focus just on creatives and bring them together as they, you know, continue to build out that social, decentralized social platform.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's top of mind for you, you know, Crypto Conexión, you know, as you look at the next quarter, and then you look at 2023, what can we see? What can we expect?
So one is the conferences. We'll be attending Blockchain Land. We'll be attending the Colombia. We'll be there for a couple of days in Colombia. There's also the LabBit conference, I think it's called. It's actually the 10th year, and it's going to be in Buenos Aires this year for the 10th anniversary, and it's going to be around the World Cup. So it should be a really fun event. So that's another one that we'll be attending. So we'll be covering and attending those. We'll continue to focus on promoting a lot of the entrepreneurs. We're very focused on women, more to come on that, but we're very, very focused on onboarding. And when I say onboarding women into Web3, it's and Latinas specifically into Web3, it's to help them either become developers and help build Web3 or help them get jobs in Web3. And you know, you don't have to necessarily know Web3 to start in a role in Web3. And I think that's one of the things we need to get people to really understand and seek those opportunities. We have our course, which is Crypto 1.0 that we just launched actually this week. And we're working on a second course focused on NFTs, and then we have a book coming out in the next few weeks focused on Bitcoin and crypto, just an introduction to cryptocurrencies. And then we're working on a second one focused on NFTs. And the most exciting part about the NFT ones is we have so many Latino projects that we're going to be highlighting in the book, and we're talking to several people who are very active in the space so that they can be a part of this second book. So And 2023 for us is really to continue to build our focus on women and Latinas, and to bring more content that helps on board. And I'm really also focused on really helping the innovators in the space have more visibility and also connect with each other as much as we can, because I think by connecting with each other and helping each other, we can build more.
Yes, I agree. And thank you for doing that work and for helping build this community. And, you know, what's so important and you know, having these conversations around Web3 and especially our Latino community is that, you know, that train is still at the station. We're all learning together.
Yes.
You know, it's just a matter of, you know, how do you jump in and start learning? And you really have to practice, right? It's not just reading anymore. You have to really engage and be a part of the community because it's a global community as well. And that thing moves 24/7. So get ready. But yeah, that train is still there, it hasn't left. And you know, it's an amazing. I'm just happy that in my lifetime I get to see another web movement, right? Web3, I've been to Web 1, Web 2, and now Web 2. You can actually be a part of it, you know, because I had no idea, but it's awesome to just be involved and supporting people like yourself and other founders.
And I love that it's called the people's internet, Web3, right? Because it's all about decentralization. And like you said, it's being built. And I think we need to be sure we're pushing and promoting and encouraging Latinos to participate because we want to help build it. We want to be a part of what this will be, right? I think, you know, I read a lot about we need to stop calling it Web3 because people get intimidated. And maybe they're right? It is just the next phase of the internet. And so how do we help people really jump on board and learn? And you're 100% right. Just learn by doing. It's the same with the metaverse, right? I spent all morning playing in different metaverse platforms because I want to learn them. Sometimes I feel like I'm too old for those. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so overwhelming, but it's so fun too.
Yeah, there's so much there. But if you think about our youth and what they're doing and what they're engaged in, and you know, spending time with my nieces and some of the games that they're playing, you know, they're just natural at it. And
well, you know, it's funny because I was telling this to somebody. Remember, we didn't grow up with this, right? With a cell phone. And so the next generation did grow up with a phone, the digital natives, and their brain was wired differently. Well, all these kids are growing up with Roblox. They are playing in what could be defined as a centralized metaverse, but they're in a metaverse. They're buying virtual things. And so their brain is wired differently, right? I still have a very hard time buying virtual things because I'm like, do I need virtual tennis shoes, really? But for kids, it's normal. And so their brain is wired different. And that's why the metaverse, I think it's gonna, with these new generations, is gonna take off because they're thinking and experiencing things differently than even the generation that grew up with the cell phones.
yeah, no, it's so true. You know, playing games with my nieces, you know, of course, they're the ones getting the high scores and winning. I'm being left behind. You just go back to Atari with the little tank that just
Pac-Man.
or Pong. I was like, I was pretty good at those. And so, and so they're the next set of generations and you know, access, right? And I like what you said about jobs, right? Because a lot of jobs are being defined, you know, as we, because they don't exist today, or they're being created.
Yeah. And look, I think I read one of the most sought out jobs for crypto companies right now is compliance, right? Because they need to be sure that they're following all the rules. And then the other one is lawyers. You need lawyers. I love the two amazing entrepreneurs who launched Disruptors. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, in Colombia. They're two lawyers and they're focused on helping individuals and companies who want to go into the NFT world. And they're amazing. I think they just got accepted to the Latitude program. So they're incredible. Yeah. And so again, you need finance, you need HR, you need everything as you did in Web 2 and Web 3. And so don't be intimidated by the terminology.
No, and then you know, we have the amazing groups like Web3 Familia that's helping to educate you know, the community, and then you have some of the other conferences from Hola, right? Metaversal.
Hola Metaverso. I love them. They're amazing. In fact, they connected because I watched their event thanks to you that you told me about it. I watched it virtually, the LA event. I connected with a startup called Learn, and they're doing our NTTs, which are non-transferable tokens for our course. And it all came through because of Hola Metaverso. And yes, Web3 Familia, you should follow their Discord, their website, their Twitter. They do amazing stuff.
Yeah, and for those of you that maybe you'll be in San Diego next week, Web3 for me will be at Latitude, and so
That's
looking
great.
forward to that conference. So look into that, and then for us, right, we're hosting our first Tejano Tech Summit here in October 14th and 15th in Houston at the Ion, and with Monica and others, we're going to run some Web3 programming. Workshops, and so if you want to learn more, stay tuned. We'll start putting those links out here shortly.
Yes, I'm excited. I think, people don't talk about Houston as an innovation spot, but there's some great things happening in Houston, and you're helping lead that. So thank you for the work. I love Houston, by the way. I think it's a great city.
Well, thank you. Well, we were just ranked 5th in the world as far as an emerging tech ecosystem.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
by Startup Genome. So that's great. And then Monday, we just had our Venture Houston conference
Oh,
with
that's
hundreds
great.
of attendees. And so a lot of people from out of town, and people quite impressed with the activity that's taking place. And of course, the ION, which is behind helping to foster and be that catalyst in this innovation economy for Houston.
Yeah, it's funny. I was just listening to somebody. I listen to too many things, but I don't remember who said it. That he said one of the areas of innovation happening in Bitcoin that nobody talks about is energy. And I bet you Houston is at the center of that, right? As you look at how not to use so much energy, people are looking at different ways. And I know some of the energy companies are using their excess oil and gas and other things to mine Bitcoin. So it's a great opportunity too for as well for Houston.
Yes. So that's the goal, right? To continue to be the energy capital of the world. Yep. And focus on that energy transition. And for me, that I'm learning there. So it's a whole different space for me.
Yeah.
And so I'm relying on people that have been in that space to learn from them, and thinking about what are those technologies, who are those founders, and then what are the investment opportunities around that.
Awesome.
Yeah. So a lot of exciting stuff, a lot of fun stuff. And so
And talking, I just want to say one more thing on investment right now. It clicked. I have to also give credit to somebody I didn't mention at the beginning, which is Silvina Mosquini. So Silvina is a serial entrepreneur, and right now she has the unicorn show and Unicorn. But she opened the door to me really before I joined a startup. She invited me to invest in her startup, and it helped me learn the whole process of pre-seed investment, of how that works, how you get equity, how do you support somebody that you believe in. And it was and continues to be, because I'm still an investor in her company, just a great opportunity to see and learn from a Latina. She's from Argentina, just really smart, dynamic. If you guys don't follow her, she's great, but she really helped me learn the space. And then I think Ana and you, Ana Roca from Genius Plaza, and you really helped open so many doors for me.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And we need to continue to open more doors, right, for others, and really educational piece, and having people become part of the community and supporting them on their journey, whatever it may be, right?
Absolutely.
Investing, tech, founder, all the above.
Yes. And we need to do, right, get our teams together, or our friends, to also help them learn how to invest. I know that you have you participate in various venture funds, but doing that pre-seed or family and friends rounds, how do we help promote those and connect people to those?
Right. Yeah, you have the crowdfunding platforms, which is a great way just to learn, right, as a retail investor, being non-accredited. And then for those that are accredited, what does that mean? And then like you went through, how do you evaluate these investment opportunities?
Yep. Because it's hard. It's fun, but it is hard because you have to really dig deep beyond the idea.
Yeah, my first piece of advice is always like, okay, you got to remove the emotion
Yes.
because you're gonna get excited about a lot of deals.
Yeah.
And so they remove the emotion and then, evaluate the opportunity, right? What is it?
Absolutely.
And
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
and then understand the numbers. And that's where it's, a great way to come together and do these investment clubs
Yes.
so
Yes.
that
Yes.
we learn
Yes.
from one another and see how people view these deals differently.
So do you have, now I'm interviewing you, do you have a favorite platform that you would recommend for somebody who is maybe not accredited, who's a retail investor?
Yeah, so we've been a big strategic partner of Republic,
I love Republic.
Republic.co, Republic.com now, I believe. And so it's a crowdfunding platform. We've known them since 2016.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, there's been a number of Latino founders on
Yeah.
that platform. So great to see a few, or more than a few, have raised over $1 million on the platform
Oh,
itself. Yeah, and then if you go right now, you can actually see one of our founders, Federico from Somos, so Somos Ancestria.
yeah.
So think of the 23andMe or Ancestry, but of Latino DNA.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look them up.
Yeah, take a look. They're running a campaign right now, and just excited to see. I've used it myself, the service, and understanding. Okay, well, when Ancestry says Indigenous in America is right, 53, 54% for me. What does that mean?
Right.
Being able to do that deeper dive,
Oh,
and
that's great.
yeah, being able to take these blood samples from the tribes. I think there's like 70 plus in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And which is a lot of hard work because in order to get these samples, you have to build that trust with
Yes.
the tribes themselves in order to, okay, well, what are you doing with my samples, right?
Yeah.
And then the bigger picture is, okay, well, how do we, when we talk about clinical trials and we talk about history, a
Mhm.
lot of those samples come from Anglos. And
Yeah.
so, right, they're not doing a deep dive with Latinos. And so how do we, are there opportunities to find medicines, right,
Mhm.
for Latinos based on our DNA makeup?
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I am gonna go after this. I'm gonna go right to Republic. It's a great platform.
Yeah. So Republic.co or Republic.com, and then just look up Somos to learn about this startup.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. So for our audience, if you have any questions for Monica, please put them in the Q&A. And then, how can we be of help, Monica? How can audience be of help?
Yes, of course. No, you've always been very helpful. But visit criptoconexion.com. Tell us what we're doing right, what we should be doing, what we could improve on. As P&G always says, what are opportunities for growth? So we love feedback. If there are entrepreneurs, innovators that we should be profiling that we haven't, let me know. We really try very hard to get at least one or two per month, if not more. We just did Liz from Coinbase. We did a profile on her. We did Elian from Mexico City. He's a programmer. We did a whole profile on her Latam. So we try to really highlight projects and innovators in the space. And so if you're one and want to get profiled, let us know.
That's awesome. An incredible opportunity, right? To just tell
Yes.
their story.
Yes.
And talk about their journey.
Yeah, and we loved, one of my favorites was Give Impact. They're amazing. They're on a roll. I know that they just got, I think, accepted into another accelerator. I'm a fan of the work they're doing. I want to find opportunities.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to find opportunities to collaborate with them. But we did an amazing profile, and it was exciting to see how they embraced it. So
very cool. And then again, just for our audience, I don't know anything about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. They start with your course.
yes, yes, please. Or you can go to our website. We have but everything is in Spanish. Like, what are cryptocurrencies? We go in depth into each one. We have a great glossary. Actually, I think our glossary is one of our most visited sections on the page. And then another interesting tidbit, our number one country for traffic is Colombia. And very few people talk about Colombia as, a hub for crypto. Everybody talks Argentina and Brazil, but our top 5 countries are, and Colombia is always number one, and the other ones switch, are Argentina, Peru, Mexico, and the US. So we still get a lot of traffic in Spanish from the US, even though the team says it's my family. I have a very large family that comes to the website. It's not that big, but yes, we get a lot of traffic. And then almost 50% of the audience is female, which I love because I do want to attract a lot more Latinas into the space. But it's really, look, I think like you said, it's about studying and reading, but then about doing. I mean, you can open an account on an exchange and then invest a little bit of money in one of the cryptos. We do recommend doing research on the cryptos because there are 20,000 of them. But Bitcoin, Ether are the main ones. I wouldn't do anything with Ether right now because they're going through what is called a merge. They're switching systems, you could say, protocols. And so I wouldn't touch it for like a week at least. And I think actually a lot of the exchanges are not letting you do anything with Ether, but that's the second after Bitcoin is the most popular coin. But like you said, right, you learn by doing. Just be careful with scams. I think there's a lot of scams, people also phishing and over promises that if you give them money, they'll make you a millionaire. So that's with everything. It happens in it's not just in crypto. Just be careful of any links or anything like that. But yeah, you can learn by doing.
Yep, I see all kinds of stuff. And so, yeah, make sure if you're not sure, ask.
Yes. Right? I've emailed people the other day. I got an email saying somebody tried to access your Instagram. Click here, and because our team, we all access the Instagram account, I sent a note, and nobody had done it. So I was like, "That's a new one. I hadn't seen that one before."
Yeah, all kinds of things, and look, I think the big one is look for those misspellings.
Yes, yeah.
Right, so Twitter.
Actually, Coinbase is one of the exchanges, and there's a fake account that has just one letter misspelled. I don't remember which one it is. So
you have to pay attention. Yeah. And especially on Twitter, there's just so much.
Yeah, and well, I do Discord as well, and there's a lot of scams and things that happen in Discord. You have to be really careful with Discord.
Yeah. Well, if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to Monica.
Yes, I'm here to help. The other thing that I just started it, we are doing workshops in English for companies, which is like a 90-minute session on introduction to decentralized world. And we talk about blockchain, crypto, Web3, meta. We cover everything, but it's an intro just so that people can understand like this world and decide, right? Do I want to dive deeper into this? So if you're interested, you can reach out for that as well. I'm doing one this week, and I'm doing a couple in October.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, exciting. people are, needing and looking for that information.
Yeah, and look, and I think people want to connect with. They're looking at what brands are doing, right? I think Nike is the one that's made the most money out of NFTs. They did it very differently because they just bought a company that was already doing stuff in the metaverse and with NFTs versus created a team. But then you have what Tiffany did, or, Starbucks this week launched their Web3 initiative, right, with their loyalty program. So that'll be interesting to follow. I don't know if you saw that Meta is launching kind of a competing product to Discord. I just saw that today. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things happening in space, and as communicators, marketers, or just business strategies, we need to understand the space to see if it makes sense, right, for your brand, or how it makes sense for your brand to go in and start participating. Yeah,
and if you want to do deep dive, the fashion brands, right, especially the luxury ones,
yes,
are like all in, and so if you want to learn or more, follow them, and they're publishing stuff like every week.
Yeah, well, and this week is Fashion Week, and there's been like really interesting executions, right, where they're doing both in the virtual world and live. Gucci, I think, is one of the brands that really has done a stellar job, not only of doing things, but of testing and experimenting and seeing what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. And then, you made me remember our good friend, Kathy Hackle.
Yes. I'm a fan. I'm one of her groupies.
and the work she's done, and she wrote a book as well.
Yes.
And so we'll be sure to share that link.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 really good books on the metaverse. What I love about Kathy is how she loves to teach. So even though she has her own agency and she's doing work for brands, she really shares the knowledge. She shared the case study of what she did with Clinique using TikTok and the metaverse, and I thought it was fascinating.
Yeah.
And so she really experiments, but she shares. I saw her speak here at Consensus, and she was just fantastic. I mean, she showed some content that I had never seen. The other platform that I really like, and they have great courses. I took their metaverse course. It's called Realm Academy. And it really is fantastic. I think that's the course that hooked me on the metaverse, because I hadn't really been into it, and I was like, oh no, I love it. I mean, it really was eye-opening, some of the things that are happening in that space and some of the platforms, right? Because for me, there's one metaverse and there's many platforms that are in the metaverse, like Decentraland, and Muse is another one that's really interesting. It's actually beautiful, some of the experiences there. I haven't played in Sandbox, but I really enjoy kind of going in and learning in Decentraland. I saw this amazing art exhibit the other day there, so
that's
really fun.
Yeah. Well, I think pretty soon we'll have our other guests. I think you know him, right? Guillermo Diaz from Conectado.
Yes, yeah.
Yep. So stay tuned for the
Good.
the Latino multiverse is what he calls it.
Okay, yes, because there's so many metaverses.
It's a combination of in real and then online. And so so that'll be another topic that will be covered at Latitude next week as well.
Oh, that's awesome. It's interesting because Kathy showed a video, I think it's by Accenture, where it's like what the future will be, and it's where you put on the glasses and they look. Remember the Google glasses? Many people won't, but I do, because I actually bought some. And so and you put them on and you go out, and part of what you're experiencing is virtual. And I think even the person had like a virtual dog versus a real dog, which is like, I want a real dog that I can pet. I don't want a virtual dog. But it was interesting because that person's like riding the bike and captures something through her glasses. So when she gets to the office, she pulls it up to see what it was. And so I thought it was a really great example of what it could be in the future, right? Without getting distracted while you're driving, but where you're experiencing something outside that has a connection to something virtual, and you can connect them both worlds.
Yeah, that's cool. There's so much.
There is so much. Yeah, it's so fun. I love it. It's so exciting. It's fun to learn, and like I said, there's so many Latino innovators doing amazing things, and every day, I try to do a call a day with somebody new. That I haven't met, that I either stalk or, I'm just kidding, that I reach out to on LinkedIn or Twitter. And that allows me to learn so much. And I think it also allows me to stay connected with what's happening in this very rapidly changing world of Web3 and the metaverse and blockchain.
It is. Well, I think our audience is shy today. I don't see any questions. All right, if you have any questions, please put them in the QA. Monica, and we'll answer them live while we have her here with us.
Yes, or they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and I'm on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Telegram, on Discord. I think I'm on every possible platform.
So they can find you.
They can find me, yes. And I do manage my own social. No one else manages it. So I read all my stuff and respond as much as I can. Same
here. It's not easy, but
yeah,
it's still great to receive those messages, right? And open them.
It is.
Yeah.
So Jesse, what are you excited about the conference? Tell us more about the upcoming event in October.
So thank you for asking. So October 14th to 15th here in Houston, Texas, at the ION. That Friday we're focused on Latino tech founders, startups, and investors, and the whole ecosystem. And then day 2 is focused on careers in tech. And so what are those opportunities? Who are those Latinos working in the tech industry, sharing their stories and journeys? And then both days are going to be coupled with workshops. And so what we want to see is our speakers go into a workshop or help facilitate a workshop so that people can do a deeper dive based on that conversation. And so it should be fun. It's the first of many to come. And so, but yeah, 2 days, and we'll be posting some information here by this weekend. And so, and a lot of busy work.
I know. So how did you come up with a concept? I know we're going to have to go soon, but I'm just curious because, I loved it, but I was wondering how you came up with it.
Yeah, well, it's the first Tejano Tech Summit, and it's it's for anyone to come from across the U.S. We're really talking about what's occurring here in Houston from a tech perspective.
Yeah,
being able to tell the stories of Latinos that are in tech, right, in the Houston area, as well as Texas, and then also bringing those Tejanos that have left Texas and are working elsewhere and working in tech, and bringing them come back to Houston to talk about and share their journeys as well. And so working on an amazing lineup. And so it'll be, because there's so many people that we just have no idea that they're actually from Texas.
Oh, wow.
Right. So just that discovery work of like, oh, you're from Texas? I had no idea. Like, oh yeah, I left when I was 18 to go to school and didn't come back until pandemic. And so there's a lot of stories around that. And so Latinos and Latinas, and then founders and investors. And so just being able to create and foster that ecosystem here.
Yeah.
As we think about the distribution of talent and capital, it's happened because of pandemic. And so how do we help support that?
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I'm excited for it.
Yes.
Because I like to say that I'm Mex-Tex. I'm not Tex-Mex because I was born in Mexico, but I am. I've been here so long that I'm Mex-Tex.
So it's celebrating Texas, the history of Tejanos as well. And so there's a lot there. And so being able to share that with others.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Thank you for asking about that. So I don't see any questions, but well, Monica, as one proud Hispanic star to another, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate your story, your journey, the insights and advice that you provided, and especially the resources that you're providing to help increase the number of Latinos and especially Latinas in Web3. And so, mil gracias for that. And on behalf of Claudia and her amazing team as well from We're All Human Hispanic Star, they certainly are very grateful as well. And so,
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for hosting these spaces. I think it's important. It's so important. And I'm grateful to have been a part of it.
Yeah, well, thank you. And for our audience, if you want to learn more about the Hispanic Star, go to hispanicstar.org. And then in addition to our conference, which is October 14th and 15th, there's other conferences, or I should say summits, being hosted across the U.S. So I know the one for the Bay Area is October 10th. So stay tuned for that. That'll be hosted over at build.com down in Santa Clara. And so Ed and the team are leading that. And then there's others that are taking place for the month of September through October 15th. So everyone, thank you again for your time. Monica, mil gracias.
Gracias.
And, everyone have a great day. Adios.